Whew, all right. Strange happening stuff. Um, Things are progressing, just progressing. It's kind of wild. My mentor, I still meet with my mentor here and there. I haven't met with him in a couple of weeks. I think we've reached the end of. I think what we've been doing now is just reworking things and repeating some of the lessons, that kind of thing. Uh, but there's too much in my head to get everything at once. When I say too much in my head, that was a lot to go through with my mentor, as far as spiritual, esoteric kind of things, different guidances, that sort of thing, increasing one's own kind of abilities and awareness and understanding. It's a lot. It really is a lot. What he referred me to in another session, one of the other sessions, was a particular book by J.J. Hurtak. And several of the people in the Zoom meetings that I go to, the spiritual type of things, refer to it. And I did pick it up, and I finally just opened it. It's called The Book of Knowledge, The Keys of Enoch. It's by J.J. Hurtak. And I'm finding it fascinating. And the reason I'm finding it fascinating now, and my head is going to explode if I do both my mentor and read this book at the same time, is because there is so much in it. Let me move my little bookmark there. All these pink tabs that I have on here right now, that's stuff that relates directly to me, which I find interesting, because I would have thought it possible. One of these tabs that he wrote in here, from the Keys of Enoch, talks about kind of, what did he call it, temptation between space gods, kind of different beings, in tempting you to choose one or the other. And the thing about that temptation, that choice, is to choose neither one of those, but the higher source, higher conscious, God, whatever you want to call it, to choose that over these other two. And I'm like, damn it, that's my strange happening 69. There were those two sets of entities. I have a video out there on that, fighting at the bottom of my bed. I didn't understand why at the time. I put a video out on it about entities fighting in my bedroom. I have a video on it. And then it came down to the choice. And what I realized is they're trying to make me choose one or the other, kind of things. And I didn't choose either one, and it felt like the right choice. It's the only choice I could make. And it talks about that in here, that exact thing that happened to me. It put it in this book. And I'm like, are you serious? Huh. That's what all those pink tabs are here, is things that related. Now, the most recent, I've just gotten into part 2 of the book that blew my mind, because there are some things I really haven't gone into detail on these videos. I briefly mentioned it in the book I wrote. I may have put it on one of these videos somewhere out here, about having memories of piloting a conscious starship kind of thing, spaceship kind of thing, piloting that, and it was conscious, and I remember doing that. Okay, let's go in a crazy world, right? It's a crazy world, and let's just have fun with it. Okay, so I'll just tell you, this is back in teenage days again, way back when. That's why I consider it a fantasy, because it is teenage, young boys' fantasies, and getting away from parents, getting away and being on your own kind of thing. It's probably all part of that. I don't know. But what I'm finding fascinating about all this stuff in my head at the time, that these memories, this fantasy world, is it's in here. And I'm like, how is that possible? Somebody else somewhere mentioned that there was this particular conscious ship in a military base somewhere, or maybe at corporate, I don't know, somewhere, but no one can get near it because it keeps backing off, and no one can get near it. It's conscious, it's aware. And I'm like, I remember that. And then we go into wild, crazy details, a little bit of details on that, because they can't figure out how to get near it and everything. And I remember walking up to it, and what I did is, where you would think there would be an opening to it, put your right hand, place it up there on it, and that's merging with it, kind of. And that's what, for me personally, and that's what it was like in my fantasy world, I guess you want to call it. But that's what I do, touch it. But it needs to see like who you are, what you are, kind of thing, not just the physical you. It's nothing to do with this physical, who you are, what you are. I mean, it's not to do with skin. It's not that it's trying to recognize. It's the spiritual part of you, the consciousness part of you. It's what it's trying to recognize. I remember sitting in there, right hand down to the side, and your fingertips and everything would move. You can move it and rotate and then shift through solid objects by just shifting to like another plane, just shifting a little bit. And you can go through objects by shifting a little bit. I don't know if that required me to put my left hand on the front and make a complete like circuit kind of thing. I can't remember that part. I kind of do, but it's kind of fuzzy on that. Now, what really got me is I'm just entering part 2 on this, and he talked about in here is talking about, I forget what he calls it, the midway legions of something, and the ships. And one of the things he talks about, one of the patterns for navigation, it doesn't say navigation in there, but that's what it is. It's navigation, and it's taken a old image of a star system, a star pattern in the sky, like on a plate, and a current one in overlapping, and they overlap, and there are differences, and you can tell the age of one to the other, how much things have evolved from one place to another, what stars are no longer there, because when we're talking about the life of a star, so you're talking about billions and billions of, or millions and billions of years or whatever, long time periods, that this one was taken, and then the new one where it is and what the differences are, and navigating that away. And what you're navigating to is to, for me, it was to find out what the difference is, why certain things happened. Why did maybe this place evolve or this one didn't, or was there something that severely happened and there's not understanding why maybe this civilization burned out, blew up, and there's a null space there. Now, it doesn't talk about it in here, but for me, I mean, this is a memory. It's like a memory. So when it got to that part, talking about that, I'm like, I have that memory. I've had it since a kid, since teenage years. And I always considered all that spaceship and that kind of crap fantasy, because teenage kid. But now it's in this book. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? And the navigation part, and that's what really has made it click. I'm still reading, trying to comprehend, but it stresses my brain out a bit, because what I remember from that navigation panel and how to do that is in here, and it actually has an illustration of it in here, and I'm like, it's not a, well, bash it a little bit, but it's not a very good illustration, because I can see the star patterns much more clearly than what he put in here. Here it's just a series of dots. It looks like a bunch of blurry dots, and it's much clearer than that for me in my own mind. But anyway, what happened with me, the memory that I have in my head is there was one location that something had happened, and I was going there, and it started messing with my consciousness, messing with my brain or something. And the whole navigation part started getting complicated. Before that, it was all very easy to do and navigate and move from one place to another. But after I got to this other position, this other place, to figure out what had happened, it really messed with me. And it's like I started forgetting how to navigate. It became confusing. I started getting confused and couldn't focus. I don't know where that was, if that was here in this star system. I don't know where or why or what, but I have a very clear memory of that. And it doesn't talk about the confusion part, and I'm always confused, apparently, because I just don't know. I'm always confused. But the navigation panels and stuff that put in here, it's like, yep, oh yeah, there it is again. Another pink little sticky tab. Let's put another pink sticky tab there and mark lines in pencil, because it's talking about it here. And another thing that he put in here at the very end of that navigation panel is that I don't know if he's talking about the people that have done this with these ships, these Legion people, can only remember it, or it's a lot of religious stuff that goes in here, more God type of things, and Israel. You can see the front Hebrew kind of stuff on here. So he's coming from that viewpoint, but so I'm actually kind of halfway filtering out that part of it when I'm looking at it, because from my standpoint, I just have to go from my experiences. I'm not trying to pull things, create false memories from a religious point or from this other point. So a lot of it is past me, but I am pulling out and tabbing things that I remember that have happened to me, and I even have it on video, because when he talks about what I just said, pass through the fire, seen the throne of God, in one part of this, or the throne of His Majesty, or the source, or whatever you want to call it, one place in here describes what it looks like, kind of like a glowing bright white light throne kind of thing with a sea of crystal in front of it. And I'm like, damn it, there's another one. I have that very clear memory. And even on these videos, before I knew about starseeds, before I knew about any of this, I have a video out there on Hurtak empaths. It's probably like Strange Happening 66 or 65, something like that. I'll try to put links below. But Hurtak empath, in there I mentioned seeing the source and what it looked like, and I patterned what I was planning at the river, patterned at the pink house, the backfield, to mimic what it looked like there. Or was that when I bought the land alive? I can't remember, but I have it on video out there. I'll try to find it and I'll put it in here. And that's what it was. It was that image of where that throne sat, what that white light of source was there in a sea of crystals. In my mind, it's like diamonds. I always considered it like diamonds, because bright, clear, perfect sea of crystals. And it's like a river. It's not a sea, it's like a river that flowed in front of it. And then there was a pattern of like living trees or pillars, living pillars, points, living points on this side of the sea, river of crystal, on this side, and it formed a grid. So they were laid out in exact points, and that's where I planted the trees, kind of. Okay, inserting this video clip here. I just reviewed Strange Happening 65, Hurtak empath. At the 8-minute, 30-second mark, I go into more detail than I realized, talking about this pillar of light, throwing white light thing with a river. I call it a river of diamonds. It's like river crystal running in front of it, and that I planted a pattern in the trees. I planted those trees 10 years ago. So this isn't something I've just made up recently. Those trees have been planted. You've seen my pink house trees and the orchards in the back and how old those trees are. Planted up from like 3 feet tall, and they're fully grown now. That was 10 years ago that I planted this, and I'm not making that up. That was 10 years ago. And here it is in this book, page 134, paragraph 48, starting out. Look it up if you got that book, Keys of Enoch. Page 134, paragraph 48, and it talks about that exact thing. It's like, yeah, I'm not making it up. In the beginning, then I went crazy with trees and started planting trees everywhere, fruit trees and persimmons and everything else. But initially, that's what it was planting in that pattern. And I have it on video here. And then they talked about it in this book. And that's another pink tab. And I'm like, are you kidding me? So, yeah, that's how crazy my world gets. But I actually documented that kind of stuff on video. A lot of it. And then here it is mentioned in this book. And sometimes I wonder, it's like, how is that possible? How is all that possible? I mean, I just got this book. I hadn't read it. He did publish it a long time ago, 1977 or something like that. Let's see. Copyright first one is 1977 by J.J. Hurtak, Hurtak. He has a website, www.keysofenoch.org. And yeah. So I'm not even halfway through the book yet. Just sitting part 2. When you get to that navigation panel, I'm like, wow. Because I haven't told anybody about that. I haven't put the navigation panel out here on video anywhere before. And I just briefly mentioned, even in my book, about piloting this conscious spacecraft. And I've just briefly mentioned it. I think I've mentioned it on videos here before. I put it in my book. And then I just got to the point of this navigation panel. And it's like, I remember that. I mean, I remember that from teenage years. Maybe it was after that walk-in experience. So a lot of this stuff is merging. Another strange thing that's happening too is one of the reasons I had to get the sleeping pills, because I'm not sleeping and all this kind of stuff, is when I'm trying to go to sleep, I talk about seeing other places through flat surfaces. I don't know if it's clairvoyance or what you want to call it. I call it seeing through walls on one of these early single-digit videos, seeing through walls. Even trying to go to sleep now, I close my eyes, I'm seeing all these other places, and the last few times, it has been so clear. I mean, it has been as clear as this, as clear as the hand in front of my face. So clear. And I know that, it's like I know I'm asleep. I know I'm somewhere else. The last one was a couple of days ago, because I took a sleeping pill down at the river this weekend, and trying to get sleep last night, holding in sleep, storms and wind and lightning and all that last night. But A couple of days ago, just sleeping, and it's like, how is this possible? I know I'm asleep, and I'm looking at a hand, and it's not my hand. And it's like, and I'm looking at a hand, and it's very clear. I'm like, if I'm dreaming, normally this hand isn't this clear. If I'm dreaming, I mean, very clear. It's as clear as this right here. And I started flexing. It's like I can see every wrinkle, every pore in this hand. How is that possible? I see every single detail. This is extremely real. Night before that, same thing. It was a location, not a body or physical body, but another location. And I'm looking at every single detail, every little grain of sand or concrete, if there's dew on a blade of grass. I mean, very, very clear. And it's like, this isn't a dream. I know I'm dreaming, but this isn't a dream. I'm somewhere else. And it's just wild. My crazy little life, right? So I told you I'd keep you informed, and this is what's been going on lately in my strange happening world, is it is continuing along these strange happenings. And right now where it's continuing is my mentorship with my mentor, Phil Gribber, has been amazing, simply amazing. Helped me understand more about myself and things he mentioned. With the silver sword, which is also mentioned, a sword with a beam of light coming out of it, which I put in my book, is also in here. Another one of the pink tabs. I think it's another one of the pink tabs. I'm like, are you kidding me? What is going on? So, still trying to understand. Don't think I ever will. I think my brain is too tiny. I never will understand. That's all right. Just take it day by day. Just live a life, right? See where it takes you.